We will now create a typical section sheet. Go ahead and click on New, and we're going to name the file Typical Section. Make sure that the roadway word seed is selected. It should still be populated since this is the last used seed file. Go ahead and click Save and give it a second to load. First, we will place the sheet title cell in the lower right corner. We need to select the applicable element template, which is Sheet Title Cell - Typical Sections and Payment Schedule. It is located under Design, Annotation, All Sheets, and scroll down until you see Sheet Title Cell - Typical Sections and Payment Schedule. Notice that the applicable attributes update automatically. Now that the element template is selected, open the Place Active Cell tool located within the Placement Tools in the ribbon. Notice that the applicable cell is already linked automatically. Leave all other settings as is within the Place Active Cell dialog box. Zoom in to the lower right corner and left-click to snap to the blue dot, and then right-click to clear the tool. Notice that the sheet title cell has now been placed. Next, click Fit View, and we will now add a single typical section along with the payment schedule. Before doing so, once again, we need to select the applicable element template. This time, select Typical Section, which is under Design, Typicals, and scroll down and select Typical Section. Once again, the applicable attributes update automatically. All typical section cells have been recreated for ORD and are aligned with the T.RD11 standards. Open the Place Active Cell tool, and this time you'll notice that the active cell did not automatically update. This is because there are many typical section cells from which to choose from that apply to this selected element template. We now need to open the applicable cell library and then select the RD11 TS23 LTC typical section. Click Browse, and then go to File, Attach File, and by default it should open to the Cell Library folder within the workspace. Open the T.Typicals Cell Library, which is where all typical section cells are stored. Within the Cell Library window, scroll down and double-click on RD11 TS23 LTC, which stands for RD11-TS-2 3-layer tangent collector. Like I mentioned earlier, the naming convention of these cells align with the T.RD11 standards. You'll notice the preview of the cell on the right side of the window. For this exercise, we will only place the tangent cell. Close the Cell Library window and notice the active cell is now populated. Remember, the X and Y scale should remain at 1. Go ahead and left-click to place the cell anywhere in the upper half of the sheet, and then right-click to clear the tool. Notice that the typical section notes are in blue, and they are on a separate level. Open the level display and turn off the Design-Scratch-User1 level. Then close the level display. Before we fill in any data in the typical section, let's build the payment schedule. Once again, we need to select the applicable element template, which will be Payment Schedule-Title (half), which is under the Design, Typicals, and then select Payment Schedule-Title (half). Once again, the applicable attributes update automatically. Open the Place Active Cell tool again, and notice this time the correct cell is automatically linked and at the correct scale. Place the cell anywhere below the typical section within the sheet by left-clicking. The reason we selected the half cell is because we only have a single pavement schedule column for this exercise. If you needed 2 columns, you would select the pavement schedule - title element template, and the cell would be the width of 2 columns. Now we need to build the payment layers. First, select the pavement schedule - item element template, which is under Design, Typicals, and then select Pavement Schedule - Item. Once again, the applicable attributes update automatically. The Place Active Cell dialog box should still be open. Click Browse, and the T.Typicals.Cell library should still be active. We will now place 4 pavement layer cells one at a time. To place each cell, double-click on the cell within the cell library, and then left-click to snap to the upper left corner of the cell above within the pavement schedule in the drawing window. Go ahead and add 411-01.10, 307-01.08, 307-01.01, 303-01. Once done, right-click to clear the tool and close the cell library window. The same process will be done to add the shoulder pavement layers as well as the tack and prime coat layers. Next, we need to fill in the circles within the pavement schedule by double-clicking on each asterisk. You could also use the Fill in Single Enter Data Field tool located under the Annotate tab within the Text tools under More, if you wanted to fill in the data fields that way. Go ahead and fill in each circle, 1 through 4 in numeric order. You would also need to fill in the pavement layer thicknesses, but for this exercise we will leave them blank. Now we will need to correlate the typical section to the pavement schedule. We will only fill in a portion of the circle so that you can see the process. Zoom into the central area of the typical section and fill in the circles with the applicable number as shown on the screen. I am going to use the Fill in Single Enter Data Field tool, as mentioned earlier, to fill in the data field. Again, you will need to fill in the remaining circles as well as the station ranges and roadway name, which are also data fields. The last primary step is to add the sheet to the overall sheet index. Remember, we must open the sheet index for editing before we can add any sheets. Toggle on the pencil icon, expand your work set, and expand the Plan Set folder. We will be adding this sheet to the Typical Sections and Pavement Schedule subfolder. Open the Models window located within the Primary Tools in the ribbon. Left-click and drag the default model into the sheet index and release. Notice that the overall sheet index now has 6 total sheets. And you will also notice that the Typical Sections and Pavement Schedule sheet has been added under the Typical Sections and Pavement Schedule subfolder. Close the Models window and zoom into the upper right corner of the sheet. Notice that once again, the type, year, project number, and sheet number fields automatically populated after we added the sheet to the sheet index. Activate the Element Selection tool if necessary, and delete the second and third sheet numbers and manually edit the first sheet number to be 2B. Left-click to accept the edit, and then left-click to deselect. Go ahead and click Fit View, and this completes the creation of the Typical Sections and Pavement Schedule sheet. Click Save Settings, and then save.